what was it that first drew you to this project?
I was very blessed by being approached by 20th Century Studios after they screened my first movie here in the Disney lot, Huesera. And they approached me saying that they've been looking for a pitch, an idea to remake The Hand That Rose a Cradle. And I was very excited about it because I love domestic thrillers, and I understood that they had really and they were really open for us to recreate and build a whole story that could be completely different, but also honor the original film with like its main core plot points. And since then, we started writing and working with Micah Bloomberg, and it was just such an organic process. And I really felt like home both in the genre, but also with the whole team.
And were you a fan of the 1992 film? How did you honor the original film while also creating something brand new?
I wouldn't say that I was a big fan. I really liked it, and I feel like I think it's such an iconic and legendary film that created a moment in time. And so I was very impressed when I was kind of intimidated when I first knew I had to remake it. But then that movie had its own processes of building a whole story and its particular characters, and I feel like the best way to honor it was by having that process myself too with my team and my cast. I feel like we hold the heart of it, like the main concept of someone that is taking over your house and want to take over your place in your own family. But then I had my own particular themes that I wanted to explore as a filmmaker, themes that have to do with perpetuation of trauma and cycles of violence. And since then, I was surrounded by a brilliant team, and I was very supported by the studio. So we built every layer, every character, our themes, our universe, our symbols, aesthetics, everything coming up from our particular story. We had a very clear sandbox, but then we had to build our own identity.
And with that being said, what would you say is the overall tone of the film?
It's definitely a psychological thriller with a constant sense of dread that keeps growing and growing to the point of an explosive climax. I would say that.
And what does Mary bring to the role of Caitlin and also the actress who plays Polly? Could you talk a little bit about them?
Of course, working both with Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Micah Monroe was so amazing. They're so focused and detailed. With both of them, I had very long processes of understanding and analyzing the script and their backstories of each of their characters, and also the story that connect both characters. Then we also had like chemistry sessions to talk with the both of them. So then the moment we reached set, they were already there. They already had full understanding of their characters, so we were able to play. And they're just like incredible actresses that they can go through every emotion, but they both hold this like contained elegance that I really love. They're both scream queens, but they manage to say and to express so much by sometimes very contained eye movements or face or like expressions. So it was just very impressive to see. And then when the violence arrives, they always like maintain like the best way of explosion. It was very incredible. They're both mesmerizing, and the whole crew, we were so in awe and with goosebumps by seeing them work on set.
You mentioned the crew. In addition to yourself, the two female leads in the creative team, such as the production designer, the film editor, composer, and costume designer, you're all female. Can you talk about why that was so important to you on a title like this?
Honestly, working with female collaborators, it comes very natural to me. I'm always surrounded with like so many of my best friends and people I trust the most. Like, we're women because we share a sense of sensibility, and we sometimes worldview as well. And I think with horror movies and thriller, I think it's really important to embrace like the female perspective or the female gaze, because we embrace or sorry, we live fear in a very particular way that sometimes is very silenced, and many times it's like it's not talked about, and I feel like horror really allows us to express those big feelings that many times are, like walking in a dark alley. Like sometimes there's so many emotions inside that we don't even talk about. And so to me, it was just like it kind of comes natural, especially with like a movie like this.